This video is brought to you by me. For $1 a month, you can support the channel directly and help me keep doing what I love. Thanks for watching and supporting. This is a content warning for sleeping dogs. If you are negatively affected by fist-to-fist violence, gun violence, torture scenes, and the mention of drug use, please stop watching now. In the height of the PS3 and Xbox 360 era of games, a lot of AAA games started doing the same things. The power of these systems made open worlds more accessible to developers, and it created a mad dash to copy trends. Like, how many times did we hear, "It's Skyrim, but with X"? A lot more than I wanted to. So while most big games were quick to check all the same boxes, the games that stood out to me were the ones that did their own thing after filling the quotas. They stood out in the 10% that they did differently. Sleeping Dogs is one of those games. It's 90% Grand Theft Auto, but in that 1/10 lies something special. A game that tells a serious story, and a game that delivers a combat system so brutal it adds weight to the violence. Sleeping Dogs began its life as a very different product from the game we eventually got. Initially, United Front was funded by Activision to make the game, but once they realized the similarities between it and the True Crime series, they decided to roll it into that series. True Crime Hong Kong was announced in 2009, but things weren't exactly going smoothly. Within 2 years of the announcement, the game was scrapped. According to the executive producer of the game, Steven van der Mescht, it was content complete at the time of its cancellation. Activision CEO Eric Hirshberg cited a growing budget, development delays, and stiff competition as the reason for the game's cancellation, making it too big of a cash sink to continue. So Square Enix took notice of the game and bought out the project, deciding to forgo the True Crime license and renaming the game to Sleeping Dogs, and leading to the game we ultimately received. I was working in games retail at the time, and I remember the push for this game being wild. The amount of times I heard the main protagonist Wei Shen saying,
"You're a cop. I'm an undercover cop. The rules are different."
Every single shift was enough to unearth many forgotten memories of my days in retail the moment I heard Wei say it again during my playthrough this time. But looking back now, Sleeping Dogs had to do this. For all anyone knew, it was another Grand Theft Auto clone. At a quick glance, Hong Kong wasn't too different from Liberty City with its many NPCs dotting the streets. By saying the rules are different, it pleaded the public to give it another look, because what was there was something that was truly special. Rather than the fictitious cities based on New York or Miami, Sleeping Dogs takes place in a replication of Hong Kong, something it was praised for when it came out. The city is bustling with a mix of road and walking areas like the nighttime markets. The NPCs change with the days, and as you walk by them, they have different conversations. When you leave your apartment, there are two people talking about a date they had last night. The next day, you might come across a couple who are fighting on their anniversary of all days.
What do you think of dried seahorse?
Little things like this add a dimension of realism to the city, the NPCs taking on a new life as your character you control begins to feel like just one person in a huge metropolis. Sorry, Cyberpunk, but Sleeping Dogs did NPC realism first, and better. The art team traveled to Hong Kong to gather research and learn the city by walking and taking more than 20,000 photos of what they saw. It paid off. Hong Kong feels more alive than most cities in gaming, even today. It's one of the reasons I feel Sleeping Dogs is one of the most underrated games of the 7th generation. It set out on a mission to tell a different kind of story that left players with moments hard to quickly forget. It did this by crafting a compelling narrative and casting the right actors and actresses to bring the characters to life. And with a cast as absolutely loaded with talent like this, it was set to succeed. Wei Shen is an international cop sent in undercover when police need him to. After returning to Hong Kong from a job in the United States, Wei is sent into the Sun On Yee, a branch of one of the Triad organizations. His main objective is to gather enough incriminating evidence on the organization and the red pole of the group, Winston Chu, in order to bring them down. But Wei is kept on a tight leash by his crooked superior, Thomas Pendrew, and his appointed handler, Raymond Mock, due to Wei's past with the Triads. Wei's bad blood with the Jade Gang and its leader Dog Eyes runs deep. Wei's life was uprooted when he was younger after his mother moved the family to the US in order to get her daughter away from the life of crime and hard drug use that Dog Eyes got her hooked on. Unfortunately, the move didn't keep her away. She succumbed to her addiction and passed away, leaving Wei with a chip on his shoulder and a score to settle. As Wei gets deeper and deeper into his ties with the Sun On Yee, the lines start to blur between what he does as part of his attempts to gain trust in the organization and what he does to make good on his past. He begins the game as a cocky guy who's quick with a sarcastic comment.
You know, you don't have to throw your life away like this.
Your concern's really moving. Yeah, I appreciate that. I'm suddenly realizing I should have never dropped out of art school. I could have made it. I could have been a real somebody.
But the further he sinks into the assignment, the darker he and the story gets.
You want the chairman? I report to him now. You want the Red Poles? I'm one of them.
That's what worries me, Wei. You're one of them.
And the gameplay as a result starts to reflect that. Sleeping Dogs' gameplay revolves around fist-to-fist combat early on, with a few guns appearing by the end as tensions escalate. The combat is very heavily based on Batman Arkham's combat, a revolutionary system at the time, and is also so overused these days that I'm sick of it. However, Sleeping Dogs keeps it fresh by adding weapons and environmental takedowns. Since the beef between the triads is tame at first, most problems are settled in fistfights where everyone leaves a bit scuffed up, but otherwise okay. Also, I've never been in a fistfight before, so I have no idea how accurate that is. But as the issues get more intense, rival gangs will set out to kill Wei and the other Sun On Yee with knives and other weapons, making the fights more brutal. When people are hit with knives especially, they scream in a way that makes you feel guilty or sick. But on the other hand, Wei starts to get more vicious with his attacks too. What starts as dunking people into dumpsters turns into dropping engine blocks on them or goring them on rusty pipes sticking out of the ground as his frustrations and rage against his rivals boil over. It becomes less about doing what you need to do to gain trust and more to send a message and hurt your rivals. Sleeping Dogs doesn't take the violence lightly. When you hit people, you feel it. When the guns finally come, it's not just another mechanic. It means things are bad. And with Hong Kong being so densely populated, many innocent people are caught in the crossfire. There are multiple ways the game tries to keep the player balanced because Wei is still a police officer. Each mission ranks your performance in two ways: police officer rating and triad rating. Your actions and missions affect how these scores end up. Your police score starts at the highest score possible, or 3 shields, and as you injure civilians or damage property, your score drops. Your triad score starts at 0 triangles, and it fills as you perform acts that would impress your fellow members. These ratings convert into experience that goes toward filling out individual skill trees. The police skill tree was ridiculous because they're like, alright Wei, we see that you're stealing a lot of cars and setting off alarms and doing so what if we made that even easier? Here's a Slim Jim to force car doors open. The triad skill tree helps you upgrade your fighting styles by giving you more moves. The story in Sleeping Dogs is probably one of the most worthwhile stories I've played in a long time. It tackles themes of corruption, loyalty, family, and tradition. Wei's superior Thomas Pendrew is as twisted as they come, using the police force for his own benefit and planting evidence in order to fabricate proof to bring down criminals.
Pendrew! What are you doing?
I told you he wasn't important. Now he is. He's going to help us nail Charlie Pang.
That's illegal, you can't do that. Meanwhile, the Triads have their own codes and laws for how things work. They are fully aware that they are breaking the law, but they still have a moral compass for how respect is earned and how traditions are maintained.
You can't do this here. It's a fucking funeral. Goddamn police! Why don't you show some fucking respect?
The concepts of loyalty and family are heavy in Sleeping Dogs. From Wei's childhood friend Jackie Ma, who initially takes Wei under his wing to get him acquainted with Winston, to becoming initiated into the organization. The members are bound by a different kind of blood, the blood they've spilled to protect their own. And once you're in, you're a lifelong brother ready to protect the traditions of the Sun On Yee. And if you go back on your family and break loyalty, that is the most offensive thing you can do. The aspect of the Sun On Yee that I think attracts Wei the most is that set of rules and that familial element that fills the void of the family life he never really got to have. Winston, the red pole Wei was supposed to be gathering intel on, tells Wei in confidence that if anything were to happen, Wei should be the one to take his place to protect the organization.
Listen, Wei. Anything happens to me, you look after our people, okay? We're a family. Family has to stick together.
And sure enough, that moment comes when the Jade Gang invades Winston's wedding and slaughters everyone in sight, stunning everyone because of how disrespectful and horrible it was to attack someone during such a sacred occasion like a wedding. In the crossfire, the chairman of the Sun On Yee, Uncle Po, is shot and Wei has to take him to the hospital before it's too late. So because of his actions to save Uncle Po, Wei, an undercover cop, who already found himself trying to balance his allegiances with the police and the Triads, is now a ranking officer within the Sun On Yee, trying to put out the fire before all the organizations go to war. After the wedding and Uncle Po's hospitalization, a power struggle unfolds for his seat in the event he dies in the hospital, and Wei is caught in the center of it. I don't want to spoil the whole story because the game is readily available on modern systems, but Sleeping Dogs is a game that mixes a powerful story and a combat system that emphasizes how brutal combat can be and only gives you guns when things go sideways. It's a game worth playing for Wei's struggles, the all-star cast of voice actors, the combat that adds a different kind of emphasis to violence. It's a powerful game that focuses on how there might be more honor and respect among the criminals that live by their own rules than the official organizations that are designed to deal justice. And by the time it's over, you're still trying to figure out which side you stand on. Unfortunately, United Front eventually did go out of business, dashing hopes for a sequel. According to the developers who were actively working on it, it was going to be incredibly ambitious, using cloud data to adjust crime levels in different parts of the map based on player actions. But even though we may never see where Wei goes after his story ends, the game is worth it for the 10% it does differently than any other game from the time. If you're looking for a game that tells a different kind of story, Sleeping Dogs should be at the top of your list. It's truly something special. Thank you for watching my video, I really appreciate it. If you liked it, why don't you hit the like button? Have you played Sleeping Dogs? What did you think of it? Let me know in the comments. If you want to see more from the channel, hit the subscribe button and the bell to make sure you never miss an upload. Lastly, if you want to support the channel directly, you can go to the Patreon link in the description below to pledge. For $1 a month, you get early access to my videos as well as exclusive videos you can't get anywhere else. I'd like to take a minute and thank my higher tier patrons, Okayla, 8-Bit Jesus, Andrew Elmore, Andrew Lang, and Just Jessica. Thanks again, and I'll see you next time.
You wanna know how I got these scars?